I'm a tiny taggart in a brave new world, gonna free this town. If you didn't know about me already, well, you know it now.
Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Objectivist Girl if you haven't met me already. So today, guys, we're going to go over the news in March. So we've got some really interesting things for you. First of all, we're going to talk about April 1st being the last day for Obamacare. The next thing we're going to talk about is the bill that was just passed approving $1 billion in aid to the Ukraine and more sanctions in Russia. We're also going to talk about the breakup of Europe, which is really interesting. And finally, we're going to end with a battle of stupidity between Obama and Yellen. And you guys get to decide next week who said the dumber thing. So let's go ahead and get started, guys, because you're watching Objectivist Girl News. So first, let's cover Obamacare. April 1st was the last day to sign for Obamacare, which is actually really fitting because Obamacare is just a big joke. So why am I talking about this? Because healthcare is not a right as much as people think it is. According to objectivist philosophy, a right does not include the material implementation of that right by other men. It includes only the freedom to earn that implementation by one's own effort. This means that you don't have any positive rights. This means you only have the right to try and earn things. You don't have any right or any claim on anybody else's productivity or money or time. Healthcare does not simply grow on trees. If it is to be made a right for some, that means to provide the right, it must be confiscated from others. So all of that nice healthcare that a lot of people are getting, they're going to have to settle for lower healthcare. People who have suffered from cancer, people who have diabetes, they're not going to be able to get the same kind of treatment, and the kind of treatment they need is so that we can provide everyone with healthcare. And I intend to do a really long article on this, guys. So it's very important that we understand that healthcare is not a right. It is something that you earn and something that you pay for, not from tax dollars. Doctors who work hard should be able to earn their money back. They spent a lot of money on that education. That's my other point. You need to understand that these doctors spend a lot of money doing this, and now their paychecks are going to be cut. And so what this is going to do is it's going to cause a lot of doctors to quit because it's not worth the value judgment. A lot of doctors, yes, want to save lives and help people, but there are other doctors that are just in it to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're good at what they do. As long as you're good at what you do, you can be in it for whatever value that you want. You can be in it to help others, or you can be in it to make money. And that's just fine. There's no issue with that. So Dr. Thomas Hendricks, a surgeon in Atlas Shrugged, says, "I have often wondered at the smugness with which people assert their right to enslave me, to control my work, to force my will, to violate my conscience, to stifle my mind. Yet, what is it they expect to depend on when they lie on an operating table under my hands? Their moral code has taught them to believe that it is safe to rely on the virtue of the victims. Yet, this is the virtue I have withdrawn. Let them discover the kind of doctors their system will now produce. Let them discover in their operating rooms and hospital wards that it is not safe to place their lives in the hands of a man whose life they have throttled. It is not safe if he is the sort of man who resents it, and still less safe if he's the sort of man who doesn't." I'm going to publish a pretty long article on why healthcare is not a right. So check that out later this week. The next thing that we're going to cover is last week, Congress overwhelmingly passed a bill approving $1 billion in aid to Ukraine and sanctions on Russia. So why is this bad? Because Congress is voting our money to other countries. Is it okay with you that we send your time and effort to someone you don't even know? If it is, you should rethink that. Your time and money is so valuable. You work hard for all of your money. You go to work, you do a job. After you learn to do this job, you spend all that time learning to do this job. A lot of people have to get degrees to do this job, so they spend a ton of money trying to learn how to do this job. And suddenly, people are just taking their money just taking your money out of your pocket and just sending it overseas. Now, it's different if you decide to donate voluntarily overseas, which is the proper way to do it. You shouldn't steal someone else's money. It's theft. In any other case, this would be theft, except for the government has sanctioned it, so therefore it's suddenly not theft because a bill was passed, which is utterly ridiculous, guys. Plus, you should value those who give you time and effort back. So you exchange values, like I was talking about before. So you need to work together to exchange time and value by trading money and goods back and forth. And this is something I've talked about several times. If you have any questions about it, just let me know. Plus, humanitarian aid just doesn't work. Most of that aid is going to end up staying at the government and not helping any of the people. If you want to do something good for people, donate to a private charity who actually goes out and does good things for people and gets that time and effort to the people instead of the government. The government doesn't need your money. The people need your money. And you have a right to refuse it to them, but you also have a right to give it to them. And you should do this because it makes you feel good, not because anybody forces it on your life. Ever. So the next thing we're going to go over is the breakup of Europe. So Europe is breaking up. It's crazy. A week ago in the St. George Hall in the Kremlin, Russia's elite cheered and wept at Vladimir Putin's announcement of the reannexation of the Crimea. 7 in 10 Russians approve of Putin's rule. Also in Holland, the National Front has become an increasingly large party to the socialist dismay. This may mean freedom in Holland. But the most startling news on the Nationalist Front last week came in Venice and the Veneto region, where 89% of the large turnout of a non-bidding referendum voted to secede from Italy and reestablish the Venetian Republic that vanished in 1866. Also, it seems Scotland will hold a similar referendum soon. So it looks like Europe is finding freedom. It's time for us to stand up for our freedom and separate ourselves from the people that are stealing our money, putting force on us, throwing us in cages, giving us tickets for responsible speeding. Yes, there is a such thing as responsible speeding. You need to know your own limitations. Benjamin Franklin always said, "Those who will trade essential liberty for a little bit of safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get neither liberty nor safety when you trade. You are responsible for your own life, no one else. And when you hand it over to the government, you're causing infantilization in our country. You are promoting that childlike behavior of Americans and many other citizens of many other countries. We are all like children. We grow up, we leave our family, and the government is our new mother and father. Don't feed into that. It's time for everybody to grow up. So guys, I'm sure you've been waiting for it. Now's the time. The smackdown between Obama and Yellen. Who said the dumbest thing? So I'm thinking about making a meme for Yellen called not things, but you know the other word, that Keynesians say. In case you don't know, she's the chair of the Federal Reserve. The Fed chair, Janet Yellen, thinks that the U.S. economy is underperforming because we don't have enough inflation. What? The definition of inflation is a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. Okay, so let's increase the price level of products. Like, people already can't afford things. We're giving out healthcare, and Yellen's solution is let's raise the price of everything else. If we stop raising the prices of things, people actually might be able to afford private healthcare, which is much better than public healthcare. What the government provides you is always not as good as what private companies can provide you. So let's go ahead and forcibly raise prices so that we can stimulate the economy. It's fake. It's not real. Real stimulation comes from more productivity. It comes from more jobs being available. So if Yellen and her little posse would back off our economy, we could probably get somewhere. Obama, I don't know if this can even compare, but Obama's stupid thing of the month was President Obama's key speech in Brussels in the Ukraine, and his attempt to isolate Russia appears to be an exercise of omission, mutually exclusive statements, and unveiled double standards. Here's a quick look at what Obama told the audience of some 2,000 people in his damning 30-minute speech. Two of the most awful things he said in the speech were, "Each of us has the right to live as we choose." I feel like I don't even need to really tell you what's wrong with this statement, but I'm going to go ahead and try to explain this to those of you who don't understand. Obama is spending all of this time handing down mandates, making everyone's life harder, making more rules for our country, taking away things like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and yet he's telling us that we have a right to choose how we live. If he really believed that, then he would let us speed, he would let us say what we want, he would let the press report everything, he wouldn't hide things from us. If people have a right to choose how they live, the government wouldn't be so huge. So that's dumb. But to add on top of it, he says, "We are confronted with the belief amongst some that bigger nations could bully smaller ones to get their way. That recycled maximum that might somehow makes right." The U.S. is the most guilty of this of all countries. The U.S. is constantly bullying people. We interfere in other people's wars. We take their resources without their consent. Our government is a big bully. They're destroying other countries' resources. They're not giving them proper value exchanges. They're just coming in and taking things. And there's destruction in their path. So he's sitting here being a hypocrite is basically what he's doing. So you guys decide, who is worse, Obama or Yellen? I can't choose, honestly. All right, I have 3 things to tell you guys about before we go. So first of all, I hope you'll check out the Liberty Beacon because I'm partnered with them and they're a great organization. They've been sending out my materials to a lot of people. So we're gonna hopefully see more and more people each week on the Facebook group. So that's gonna be really awesome. So you guys will have more people interact with. That's always good. Second of all, I chose to move here to the Free State Project and join a family, and since then they've kind of become my family, and my adoptive little sister makes bracelets, so you should check these out. There is an email address below that you can send her information about what kind of bracelet you would like. She's charging $1 per bracelet, and I hope you guys will check it out. Lastly is the most important part though. I am going to be working with Carlos Morales from truthovercomfort.net, and he and I are going to be putting together a live show called True Objective. And I'm not sure what night of the week we're going to be doing it just yet. It is still in the works, but we hope to have that project underway by the end of April. So I hope you guys will check it out. We're really excited. And yeah, just remember guys, knowledge is not for all men, but for those who seek it. So keep seeking.